Hello, everyone. I'm Aaron McIntosh, Director of Product Marketing here at X0. I'm here today with our holiday edition of our 8 top cybersecurity tips. These have been curated across a ton of collateral that we put out this year and are in line with a lot of the questions that we're hearing from our audience. I've been with X0 now for about a year and a half. I've got about 20 years experience in product marketing, listening to customers, trying to understand your needs and be able to curate content for you. However, today I'm playing a bit of a different role. I'm special delivery agent Aaron McIntosh, working for the big guy up north. Let's check the old X0 mailbox. My first letter comes from Kevin McAllister. He writes, "Dear X0, I run a home security company in Chicago. I've been tasked with fixing all of our cybersecurity risks, but I've been given almost no additional budget to do it. We currently have a SIEM that helps identify potential threats, but our team's completely overwhelmed with the mostly false alerts. We can't even get to all of them in any given day. So what suggestions do you have?" Well, Kevin, this is a really common occurrence with our small to medium business customers. So some of my suggestions are, one, outsource your SOC if you can. Doing so pays off big in dividends. Leave the in-house SOCs to the largest enterprises who have the staff and the experience to do so. MDRs can really help you with getting the right kind of data as well. A lot of tools, adding on tools, SIEMs, EDRs, SOAR, they're very good at giving you more data. Unfortunately, more data means that you have to spend more time looking at it. So it really comes down to, one, getting the right kind of data. And one of the best ways to sort through that data is to have machine learning or AI in place. And that can really help you with refining detections, finding things in rapid speed that a human can't. And finally, really look at SOCs that have created this interdepartmental cohesion. So the SOC is working with the data science team, they're working with the product engineering team, they're working with the sales engineering team. It's only by really creating that cohesion that you're going to get the best result. And one resource that we can help you with is our hyperscale SOC document. It gives you a really quick overview of our team and everything that we've done to build our SOC and make it as efficient as possible. We're now at like 25 times efficiency compared to many of the markets. And we know that AWS themselves came out with a study talking about 10x, and we're happy to say that we're 25x. So the next question I have comes from Margaret. We're working with our chosen cyber insurance vendor to meet the necessary steps required to secure our coverage. We've been told that it's critical that we have an incident response plan in place. I've always relied on our IT team to respond when needed. The problem is, none of us are really experts in cybersecurity. Where do I start with building an IR plan? Can you help? Well, Margaret, yes, we can help. In fact, we had read a study just last night alone that was saying only 63% of CEOs have an IR plan in place. So our first tip is remain calm. We're here to help. So you need to build your plan. You need to do that in 4 or 5 steps. One, you need a response and remediation process. You need notification procedures. You need escalation procedures, and you need testing procedures. And hint, we've got a template for that. And that's our new IR response guide that we put out this year. In it, we've got a few additional tips. One is, in order, assess and scale your plan. As your business grows, you need to change this plan on a regular basis. 2, a plan's only as good as the training provided. Make sure all of your staff and all of your procedures are aware of this plan. And 3, test your plan regularly. Run fire drills. We've actually put a blog up on that as well, and you'll find that on our website. Our next letter comes from Clark in Chicago. Clark writes, I work for a food preservative company. For the upcoming year, I'd like to harden our systems without the need for additional services and tools. I've got a very tight budget. In fact, I might not even get a bonus this year. How can I configure and optimize the operating system and software I already have? Also, where do I even start when it comes to measuring whether or not anything we're doing is actually moving the needle? I need some way to show the rest of the senior team and board that our investment's paying off. This is something we hear all the time. A lot of customers will buy services and they don't necessarily know if it's working. Sort of like insurance, you're paying for it, but do you know if it's working? Do you know if you're covered? It's only there really when you need it. A lot of teams are tasked, there's that ongoing problem, do more with less. So in this case, Clark really wants to improve the security, do it on a short budget, and be able to prove it. Well, we've got a really good tool for you, and also got a tip. If you can't prove it, did it really happen? So in this next piece, we offer some expert advice on configuring and optimizing your existing operating systems and really strengthening the security posture around those. Additionally, you're going to find some really nice prevention tips in there. One is, building this maturity model that I've referenced. It allows you to set your goals, discover your gaps, prioritize your tasks, and actually track them and upload evidence for auditors and your senior team. It allows you to test and validate your security maturity on an ongoing basis. It's live in our customer portal for you. It allows you to, it teaches you how to, introduce your software restriction policies, create hosted firewall policies, institute a restricted groups policy, and even leverage your OS's antivirus software that's already there. And that tool is our testing and validation white paper that we put out earlier this year. Again, links are provided to all of these documents for you. Going to our mailbox, we do have another letter here, and that's from Pratesh. Pratesh writes, I'm currently on the search for someone to improve our detection and response capabilities. All of the headline attacks this year have my board expressing concerns that were not properly covered. Frankly, they're right, but it's not for a lack of trying. Last year, we integrated a new EDR. We have a new SIEM and a DLP solution. We're better off than we were, but I can't say with confidence that we'll be able to stop or even detect the next breach. Is there anything Act0 can do to help me out? Yes, actually there is, Pratesh. First off, don't get caught on your heels. This is happening across the board. There have been so many headline attacks this year, and when they happen, our boards light up. Our salespeople are asked questions. Our customer service people are asked questions. People are going to the web. There's a host of misinformation out there. Sometimes there's no patches available. The software providers themselves are scrambling. So we say, in order to get around that, there's really a few things that you need to do. One is you need to constantly practice in good hygiene. You need to harden your systems. That means locking down your configurations, reducing your access, reducing privileged access, and also employing timely patches. So if Microsoft, for example, comes out on Patch Tuesday with a bunch of patches, you're probably best to put those in place right now. Yes, they can be disruptive. However, putting them in place protects you. Part of the reason why we'll talk about a little bit later is the fact that as soon as those vulnerabilities are more widely known, there are people ready to attack you. Thirdly, don't rely on backups. A lot of people believe that backups are the solve-all for ransomware, meaning if we get hit by attack and everything's locked, we're simply going to shut off that access and we'll upload from our backups and we'll be good to go. That's not the case. And fourthly, build an IR plan. I can't talk enough about the incident response plan. We mentioned it earlier. Secondly, when a ransomware attack happens, you need to be ready to go. Like, you need to have all feet on the ground right away. You have to have your communications in place. You need to know who to contact, when to contact, and your contact numbers, and then your methodology for getting through the ransomware attack. So I can't speak enough on that. And fifthly, keep an eye out for emergent threat news. If you see it, ask your provider. I know something that we're setting up internally is a call for logs. So in the future, if an emergent threat happens, we'll send out an email to prospects and others to say, send us your logs. We'll take a look through them and tell you if you're being hit by this attack. So that's coming. So keep an eye for our emails and notifications in the future. And the doc I'm going to reference here is our Rise of Ransomware as a Service doc. This is a document that was written by Adam Mansour, our vCISO, Sean Hiddle, as well as I believe is Will Ganitis, our head threat hunter. They are all instrumental to helping stop ransomware for our customers. And this is an absolutely fantastic read for both the buying decision maker or executive level, right down to your more tech savvy people in the company. So off to the mailbox, and the next letter we have comes from Cindy. Cindy writes, I'm really hoping you can help me. We've recently been shifting much of our work into Microsoft 365 and Azure AD. I'm in the process of formulating a policy and security controls around this right now. I've got confidence in security tools recommended by Microsoft, but I'm on a tight budget and not sure if I can afford to layer on additional services. But I want to make sure that my business is protected. How can X0 help me out? Well, Cindy, really when it comes to the cloud, the number one tip is you've got to protect the credentials. Cyber criminals target Microsoft as its, the largest of the cloud providers. This goes the same for AWS, Google Workspace as well. The big three are constantly on the radar of adversaries. Second point, really, when it comes to threats, is that cloud's often a jump-in point to access the rest of your network. Just like attacks can start on the endpoint, work their way through the network and into the cloud, they can easily start in the cloud as well. And again, when it comes to credentials, account takeover is your largest threat. We've put out a number of pieces on this one this year. The one I'm going to call out today is a white paper that we wrote on securing the Microsoft cloud, where we've got some tips in there to help you out. And those mitigation tips are quite simple. One, you need detections across your endpoint and your cloud. You can't just rely on having one for each. You really need to be able to pull in from multiple and varied locations. Two, account takeover detections are key. You need to work with a solutions provider that focuses on account takeover detection and can provide the remediation steps for you. How we do it is we take raw data in from all those sources, like your Microsoft environment, your cloud, your AWS environment, and we run them through our machine learning enabled detections. It's a really fast way to detect if something's happening and stopping. And from there, we're also providing support for AWS, Google Workspace, and the multi-cloud environment. Whenever we do detect something, we've got a bunch of ways to respond. One is an auto response where we'll actually block the access. If it's not severe, we'll send you remediation advice. Sometimes that's directly from Microsoft as well, but you will get remediation advice with all detections from us. Number 6. This comes from George in New York. George writes, "We've had a very good year here at Mandalay Industries. Our sales of latex and latex-related products have gone through the roof. Unfortunately, this has led us to become a bit of a target for hackers. Earlier this month, an employee of ours opened an email which triggered a ransomware event. Luckily, it only affected their laptop. The issue is, we're now up for contract renewal with a supply chain partner who's asked us to disclose our cybersecurity preparedness and any breaches we've had. This is something we've had on our own contracts as well. How do we go about securing ourselves and our partners?" Well, George, supply chain management has been under attack this year. Kaseya, SolarWinds, there's so many different attacks out there that have hit the supply chain. The one thing I'd like to say is security has a U and an I for a reason. Security is always a partnership and never more so than in the supply chain. So in the document that we're going to provide for you today, it's our 6 steps to securing your IT supply chain. Step 1, take control of your inventory and manage your IT assets. Step 2, you've really got to monitor your third-party risk. So that is understanding who you're bringing on as partners. Are they SOC 2 compliant? Are you SOC 2 compliant? Have you been able to provide those credentials to your users? Or not those credentials, that kind of certification, if you will, to your users. 3, you've got to address any software supply chain hygiene, as I mentioned. Are they running endpoints that aren't protected? Are they not running multi-factor authentication? Are they trying to access your systems and giving that access to anybody? So you really got to work on the hygiene. 4, you've got to segment your network as well. Don't give everybody in your company access to anything. Don't give your partners access to parts of your organization that you don't need them to have access to. 5, reduce your attack surface. Clean up old devices. Isolate your cloud environments from your endpoint environments. And 6, constantly monitor it. You really need a solution that's looking for detections, looking for IOCs and IOAs across all of those environments. And if we go to the mailbox again, we have another letter here, and this comes from Erica. Erica writes, "Dear X0, our company now has a significant part of our workforce working remotely, and we're using remote management monitoring tools to help install programs, push out patches, etc. I understand RMM tools have become increasingly appealing to attackers, considering the recent Kaseya and SolarWinds attacks. Do you have any tips into the specific risks of RMM and how I can mitigate them? Erica, we do. A couple months back, we wrote a threat insight piece that really talked about reducing your attack surface and tightening controls. And that was a threat insight piece that you'll find here. Again, we'll attach all of these for you afterwards, and they're available on our site. So with RMM attacks, adversaries really are looking to redirect the connects to their own malicious server. Once they get people to go there, they're immediately trying to take control of that RMM tool to gain access to other targeted machines. From there, they're installing their own software on the controlled machines, and they're usually doing this without detection. And from there, they're spreading that control from machine to machine, server to server, and beyond. And the end goal, of course, with most attacks is extract the files, install the malware, install the ransomware, lock the machine, and be as disruptive as possible. Sometimes they're sneaky, though, and they just take their data and move on. So some of the prevention tips we have for protecting our RMM are limit administrator access. People are working from home. Not everybody has to have admin access. Yes, it's really nice to be able to give it to your employees so that they can add the tools they need to be most efficient in your job, but you're creating a security hole. 2, access and limit what tools users have on their machines. Don't give them access to anything. If they need, for example, a marketing tool or marketing widget, run that through IT. You control that. You control the single sign-on. You control how you want people to access that. That allows you to have greater security control. 3, consider moving to cloud-based RMM tools that have better access to revocation. Yeah, we've talked about cloud being, having its own security challenges, but when it comes to RMM tools, you're actually better secure. One of the reasons right there is the fact that you can better access revocation tools, meaning you can close it down. You can isolate it better than a physical tool on an endpoint. And again, continuously monitor for changes in your environment. And the final letter that we have today in the Act Zero mailbox comes from Tommy. Tommy writes, "Dear Act Zero, we're a small parts truck manufacturer in Sandusky, Ohio. We're looking to bid on a new contract opportunity with a major defense contractor. In the RFP, there's a specific reference to being compliant to CMC Level 2. Coming off a really tough 2 years, winning this contract would secure our company's future. We don't know where to start with preparing for CMMC. Any recommendations? Regards, Tommy." Well, Tommy, we've had a lot of experience this year on CMMC. It has been a hot button topic in the market. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of changes in the market. We've been working in the last year and a half, 2 years on CMMC Level 1. Just in the last 2-3 weeks, OASU has changed that, and they've introduced CMMC Level 2. So that's got a lot of people spinning. No worries, we boiled that down for you. Myself and Adam Mansour, our VCISO and head of sales engineering, recently ran a webinar for you called CMMC 1 versus CMMC 2, What You Need to Know. There's a ton of great information in there. I'll really sum it up in this stage. If you have any classified user information, you need to apply CMMC. It really boils down to NIST 800 or 800-171 and 172. Look at those standards, but take a look at this video. We've got lots of tips. We also have some additional documents that can be supporting for you. And that is, we've built a CMMC super tracker. It is updated with CMMC 2.0 information, but this is an absolutely fantastic way to start building your detailed project plan. Part of CMMC 2.0 is a self-assessment criteria. So this will get you well on your way. It helps you map against other frameworks as well. This is updated, available for you here, and it's on our website as well. And finally, when it comes to CMMC, you really need help, especially if you're a small organization without somebody who is compliance ready, has all the specialized training. reach out to a CMMC registered provider organization like us to help out. Adam and others have been trained in doing this, and they'll be able to walk you through and answer any questions you have. And if they don't, they'll be able to provide you the direction to go to find the answers. So let's recap them. Tip 1, outsource your SOC if you can, because it's going to give you big dividends. 2, remain calm. We've got an IR guide that can help you out. Tip 3, establish your maturity baseline, prioritize, and constantly track your progress to it. Tip 4, don't get caught on your heels when it comes to emergent threats. Do all the legwork in advance, and you'll be much better off if something happens. Tip 5, protect the credentials to mitigate your risk when it comes to the cloud. Tip number 6, security has a you and an I for a reason. You've got to work together with your supply chain partners to make sure the entire ecosystem is secure. Tip 7, reduce your remote attack surface by tightening your controls. And the final tip is get tracking. The time is now when it comes to CMMC. Yes, they've extended the deadline out, and there are some uncertainties, but the contracts are coming. And if you want to win and you want to get ahead of your partners, start tracking now. Thanks, everyone. Happy holidays, and we'll talk soon.